Hello! Welcome to Bookmark Chapter 14. So, today we are going to be talking about how to read more. Hopefully, we will help you to kind of kickstart your New Year's resolution because I'm sure a lot of you have the resolution to try and get more books in because that's never a bad thing. So, I'm Hailey from the channel Hailey and Bookland, which you are on right now.
I'm Hannah. My channel is a Clockwork Reader.
And I'm Zoe. My channel is Read by Zoe.
So, before we get into it, did we want to talk about what we're currently reading? I'm currently reading nothing because I've been in kind of a little bit of a slump recently, unfortunately.
Wow, the perfect topic for
I know,
today
right?
when you're
Yeah,
not reading anything.
yeah.
I am currently reading a few books. I'm still making my way through Sawkill Girls. Hailey finished it,
I
but
did.
Zoe and I still haven't
Yeah,
finished
we
it.
have not.
Yeah. And I did a lot of reading like last weekend, so like I read a bunch of books I was in the middle of. But I'm still reading The Truth About Keeping Secrets by Savannah Brown. And I am also just going to start probably tonight, The Vanishing Stair by Maureen Johnson. And I'm really, really excited because these are my like two of my most anticipated books of the year. So yeah, that's what I'm reading.
Excellent. Did Zoe say what she was reading already?
I'm still reading the Sawkill
Oh,
Girls. Or just is it the Saw? No, just Sawkill Girls.
Sawkill Girls. Yeah. Oh, I just lost my train of thought for a second. If you guys have any questions for today's topic about how to read more, any questions pertaining to today, then you guys can tweet it at our Twitter, which is at Bookmarked Club, and you can use the hashtag bookmarked, or you can also leave them in the chat at the side. But we're basically going to be trying to help you read some more because it's hard, especially nowadays with so many distractions, to read a lot. So I know my number one thing for trying to read more is audiobooks. I don't think they're cheap. Like, this is a controversial thing that we have
We had
talked
a
about.
whole thing about it, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about it in a previous chapter, but I think audiobooks are absolutely fantastic for when you're busy and you have a lot of books that you want to read, but you don't really have the time to dedicate to all of them. I think audiobooks are absolutely amazing.
I feel like are we just going through like our biggest tip?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
my biggest tip is definitely one that I started doing last year or 2017. I don't remember. It's been a while now.
That's 2019. Woo!
I know.
Cool.
I think it was last year when I started doing this. Basically, what has really, really helped me, especially if you're like me and you get really easily distracted while you're reading, I like setting timers. So I will set a timer. Usually for me, I do 30 minutes because I know 30 minutes is an amount of time that works for me, but you can do whatever time works for you. You can do 5, you can do an hour, whatever you like. But I set a timer for 30 minutes and then I put my phone away. I put everything, unless I'm reading on my phone, but you know what I mean? I put all my distractions away and then I read straight for those 30 minutes. I don't do anything else. And then if I still feel like reading, I will continue to read. And sometimes I'll set another timer if I do know that I want to read and like intentionally want to read more that day. And sometimes I just want to keep reading, so I'll just go past the timer. And it really, really helps me like keep like focused while I'm reading, and it helps me stay like motivated to read more. I highly recommend trying it out if you haven't tried it. I think that like it's definitely like my best, most like helpful tip, I think. So yeah.
Yes, I still need to try that. Mine is kind of similar. Mine is obviously something you've heard 1,000 times, and that's to read before bed because I get really distracted as well, and I will pick up a book, but then I'll immediately go on to social media or something like that. So I set a time when I have to turn off all of my technology and like even my computer and all of that, and just pick up a book. So usually I try to do that about 30 minutes before bed. I also, something that has really been helping me in the new year is I have a bullet journal and I am marking down my daily reading, which I have right here, and I have it color coded so that each book is a different color, a color that matches the cover of the book. I had a lot of fun picking out these colors, but just tracking like this, it really shows me days that I'm not reading, and it keeps me wanting to continue reading because I want to see it consistent. And just introducing fun elements like picking a color for a new book brings me a kind of an embarrassing amount of joy out of. So I think you just have to find something, use all of these different tips and try to find something that works for you. So, like audiobooks, I used to be really into audiobooks until I realized that they don't really work for me because I'm much more of a visual learner and that's how I absorb information. So they only really work for me when I'm driving or cleaning or doing other mindless tasks. So you don't necessarily have to follow all of this advice, but maybe just try something out for a week or so and see if it sticks.
Yeah, I feel like it's a really personal thing. Like,
Mhm.
obviously, everyone's schedule and everyone's lives are different and everyone's brains work differently. So, reading is something that's different for everyone. So, you kind of have to like take the tips, but also see if they work for you. Like, for me, a lot of reading more is trying to trick myself into feeling like I'm productive because
Mhm.
I am a lazy human being. So, if I read really short books when I'm kind of feeling blah about reading, like I recently read the entire Wayward Children series and I listened to the audiobooks actually while I was playing Sims. So even though I was playing Sims, I still felt like super productive. And I was like, yeah, we're getting some reading done. So I think that a lot of it for me is tricking myself, but that might not be, everyone's experience. So it's kind of interesting. Like when I was super busy with school, audiobooks were a lifesaver then too, but I also just carried a book around with me everywhere that I went. Now, I've kind of gotten out of doing that and I don't know why, because that's like such a helpful thing. Like I could even just have a book in my car, but I've kind of stopped doing that because I've been so lazy about reading lately.
Mhm. I only do that if I'm really into the book that I'm currently reading. But that's also why almost I think all of the bags that I own, I make sure that they can fit a book somehow,
Yeah.
even if it's just like cramming it in there. But it's something that I need to do as well because when you have something, even if you're listening to an audiobook or something, you're not really going to feel the weight of the book in your bag, and that won't remind you to read. Maybe having headphones or something in your bag will remind you to read, but having the weight of a book and then you're just sitting in like line or something waiting for something, then you'll be more likely to pick it up. So that's something I need to start
Yeah.
redoing as well.
I feel like I've just been like, I haven't been wanting to pick up books. And for me, I think the problem is that I need to look at what I have on my shelves. For like, I feel like if you are feeling like you don't want to read, and normally you're a person who really likes to read, you need to kind of take a look at what you have and why it's not motivating you to want to open up a book. Because then there's kind of a problem with what you have to choose from. It just might not be stuff that was interesting you. Like, I was talking with Hannah and Zoe before we went live about the fact that I have been struggling with fantasies because I feel like they're all the same right now. Like none of them have been interesting me, but then there's also so many fantasies out there. So I feel like to keep up with the times and to keep up with what is coming out and what other people are reading, I have to be reading these fantasies. But like all of them, I feel like it's the same formula but like different names, different world and stuff like that. So I really need to take a good look at my shelves and I kind of did that already. I have an unhaul going up tomorrow, but I need to do it again because it's just there's too much and it's making me not want to read.
Hannah, you should say like what is the formula for a YA fantasy that you were saying earlier? She's really
I,
exposing the whole publishing industry.
I was saying that there's this general trend that I've noticed with a lot of more recent YA fantasies, um, especially the ones that are like deemed feminist fantasies. It's always just like the female character, the main character, who's usually a female character, wants rejects like her role in society as a girl. So either she like doesn't want to wear dresses and she wants to hold a sword and be a warrior, or she wants to hold a sword but she also likes makeup, but she always has to have a sword and be a warrior. And like that's basically it. That's all like women in YA fantasy right now. And it can get pretty tedious when you
And she
see it
has
over and
long
over and over
hair.
again.
She always
Huh?
has really long hair.
Yeah, she does usually have long hair. Sometimes they have short hair. Sometimes like they
Yeah.
I feel
symbolically
like it's
cut the
usually
hair.
white.
But then it starts long though, and then they do
Yeah,
like the Mulan thing.
yeah.
Amazing. When will
um,
my reflection show?
who
That's
I
Mulan, isn't it?
am. Inside, yes. Oh, we should talk about, since Hailey, you're in a reading slump, ways to get out of a reading slump. I think something that we're kind of trying to do is buddy reading. And I think, especially because Hailey's already finished the book that Hannah and I were supposed to have finished by now, I'm feeling the guilt of not having finished it. So that's kind of inspiring me to read more. Any other?
I think that accountability is a huge thing. Like joining a book club or buddy reading or telling someone what you're reading for me is huge, because then I feel the pressure to try and finish it. Like if I tell someone what I'm reading and then I'm like, ask me how it is in like a week or so, then I feel like I have to finish it. Like part of the reason why I finished Sawkill Girls so quickly is because I was running behind what we were supposed to be reading, and then I was worried that you guys would be ahead. Then I like had to read it.
So I feel like I'm the exact opposite of that. Every time I tell someone that I'm reading something, like then I feel like it's work to read that thing. So then I don't want to read it.
About this.
That's how I feel about it too. But no, like, and it's not the book's fault. Like it's just that's why I don't make TBRs anymore. Like I just can't do that. Like if I'm in the middle of a book, like that's different because I've already like gotten through part of it. Or if it's something I'm like really, really excited to read, then I'll like definitely say like I'm planning on reading this. But like there's something about that accountability that makes me not want to do it. So that doesn't work for me at all.
It just turns into required reading.
It turns into required reading for sure. But like buddy reading does help because like that's fun. Like it's fun to do that for the most part, except apparently with this book, I don't feel like doing it. But for the most part, it's fun because it's like an experience with your friends. But the thing that works best for me when I'm in a reading slump is rereading books I already love and like know pretty well. Like this past weekend, I reread The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender because I hadn't read it since 2015, like when I started my channel. And I love that book so much, and it had been so long since I'd read it, and I was in kind of a reading slump. Like I just read a few like books that I really didn't like, and I wanted something I knew I would like. So I reread that book, and then that made me like motivated to continue reading. And so I definitely suggest rereading some of your favorite books to get out of a slump.
I definitely agree with that as well. And also, going back to buddy reading and TBRs, it's like my inner rebellious student comes out and I'm like, no, I won't read it. Just because I said I would, I won't. And like, I'm not a rebellious person in the rest of my life, but when I say I'm going to read something, part of me is, no, I'm going to read something different. Now, suddenly my taste has changed completely and I want to read like a more like fluffy rom-com type book or something like that. I don't know. Also, there's a character in here whose name is Zoe and it's spelled wrong and I'm mad. But anyway. But I think as well, like you said, reading short books and reading books that you're already a fan of. I think as well, try to maybe read more contemporary or like a world that you're already familiar with, because part of the reason why I struggle with fantasy is that I need to completely understand the fantasy world, and so it takes me longer to read because I need to know like how does the plumbing system work in this fantasy world, like just dumb stuff like that. But if you're already familiar with like the Harry Potter universe or like our own universe contemporary, then I think it's so much easier to get immersed in that world as well. And also reading like romance books or just really fluffy, you could read smut if you really want to. I think cozy mysteries as well. Those are also very fluffy and they're mysteries. So you kind of want to get to the end to know what's happening. So maybe just try to find a genre that you read very quickly that really makes you excited to read. That can be fantasy for you if it just makes your imagination start going in overdrive. But for me, it's definitely fluffy contemporaries. So
I think that's a really good tip. I would also say, like, along those same lines, reading an author you already know that you like, like one of their other books is also really helpful. That's like similar to that because it's some like you already know their like writing style a bit, even if they're writing in a different genre. But it's easier to like get through that book most likely easier because you already kind of know it.
Yeah, I think when you're in a reading slump, like choosing what you're going to read is the biggest issue there, because you need it to be, in my opinion, you need it to be something that you don't really have expectations for, but you also need it to be something that you think you'll love. So what I mean by that is like, I wouldn't pick something that's super hyped up, because there's a chance that it couldn't live up to the hype. But at the same time, you want to try and pick something that really interests you and you think you might like, but go into it with the expectation that you will like it, but also not too high of expectations. You want to pick something that's short. It's really hard. And that's why I haven't really been picking anything up, is because I want something that's going to engage me and make me excited about reading again. And I haven't found it yet. So it's hard.
I feel like that was a lot of people's struggles, not luckily not mine this year, but picking their first book of the year. Like, a lot of people put a lot of pressure on that first book. So I think it was people like trying to go for something hyped, but not too hyped that it'll make unrealistic expectations or something like that.
See, I picked something that was way too hyped. I went for the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
You just went as hyped as
I did. So it's like everyone loves it, so obviously I'm going to, and I enjoyed it, but the hype was way too much for me.
Yeah, the only thing more hyped than that is like Harry Potter. It's like those two things. You can't really like go in with realistic expectations anymore. But I think another thing for reading slumps is joining like a readathon, or I know that there's like, what is it, like the BookTube games or something like that is going on now, and people are joining different groups to try to read more books than the other groups, or something that will make you competitive.
Yeah.
Even
I'm
if
very
you
competitive
against yourself.
Oh, that doesn't work for me.
Like self-competitive. Like if you're doing like a 24-hour readathon by yourself, not with me, because be patient, please. But I think just like trying to read as much as possible. After readathons, I get so like back into the reading groove. It usually starts off like kind of rocky, and then I just get more and more into reading.
Yeah, setting like a challenge for myself is helpful. Like when I did that essentially 24-hour readathon, basically when I tried to read like 6 books in one day. And I did it because like I just really felt like reading that day. So I wasn't in a slump. That's like a different story. But like doing that made me want to read more and more like the next days. So like doing those challenges against myself, like not against, but like with myself, for myself, are fun for me. But anything that's like competitive doesn't work for me because I'm like not a competitive person at all. So trying to do anything competitive just like doesn't work because like I won't be motivated by that. I don't care.
I'm so opposite. I'm like, I'm gonna kick some ass.
I hate competition. I think it's so annoying.
You should not play board games with me because I will be screaming.
You'll be really bored because I won't do anything.
I have a 50 Shades of Grey board game that someone gave me like one Christmas like many years ago. So when you come over to my house, we're playing it.
We're playing it.
Amazing.
A lot of people, or maybe it's one person, is asking if my dad will come join us, but he's out on the couch. I mean, maybe at the end if you're really interested, but people are very excited to see my dad. Do we have any other reading slump things? Oh, we have a question.
Yeah.
Someone says, Jana reads too, says, what do you think about the advice to read every possible moment, even for 2 minutes? Can you really enjoy a book like that?
What's the advice?
What do you think about the advice to read every possible moment, even if it's just for 2 minutes? Can you really enjoy a book reading like that?
I've never heard that before.
You have to be reading every single moment. No, I entirely disagree.
No. It's like if you can find the time in the day, read for any possible amount of time you can. Like if you're just standing in line for 2 minutes or something, pull out your book and read for that amount of time. I think it really depends on the book because I think there are some books that you need to, it's more beneficial to read it all in one fell swoop, just sit down and binge read the book. Like I think if you're reading an action scene or something like that, if you stop reading in the middle of that, that might break up the flow and you might not enjoy it as much. But I think if it's like a fluffy, romantic, contemporary book, I think you can totally get the same amount of enjoyment. So this is kind of, it might hinder your enjoyment in some books, but I think it is good advice. If you are a very busy person and you want to get some reading in, just pick your book carefully.
I think
Oh, go ahead.
Oh my gosh.
I hate us. Okay, I'll go. I think that it like It depends. Like for me, that depends on like if I feel like reading. Like when I'm in a reading slump, that's not going to help me. Like for personally at least, it's not going to
Yeah.
help me. If it's a book that I really want to be reading, like I don't want to put it down, like I'm going to read it every single second that I have a second to read a book. Like when I was reading Queen of Air and Darkness, I do this with like all of Cassandra Clare's books. Like right when they come out, like I will read them any possible moment that I have to like read. So like if I'm standing in line or if I'm like in the car or something like that, like I will be reading them. But I can't do that with like any book. It has to be something that like I'm dying to read and dying to finish. So yeah, for me personally, that doesn't work very much. But again, depends on the person. It depends on the book you're reading. It depends on how you like to read. If you like to read, like have like things split up that way, then go for it.
Yeah, I try being the keyword because I've been very unsuccessful with it. But when I go, like when I'm inclined to pick up my phone and just scroll through my phone, replace that time with actually reading a book. Because for me, I don't mind picking up a book for a little bit because then I'm getting in some reading because I'm really busy. Like between writing, between trying to do videos and actually trying to get reading time in, and then my actual job, it's hard to find time for everything. So if I can replace the time where I'll just be mindlessly scrolling through my phone and not really doing anything with reading and something that's productive, that would be awesome. Like ideally, I would pick up a book every time I go for my phone, but that's just kind of not the case when I'm in a reading slump. But I have actually deleted Twitter off of my phone like a month ago, which was a beautiful decision that I made. Because Twitter, I will just spend forever on there and not even really enjoying it. So trying to like minimize distractions and then maximize reading time, I feel like that kind of goes hand in hand with this question. I think maximizing your reading time is a great thing, but you have to consider your own enjoyment of a book, what you're reading, and like who you are as a person, because it's not going to work for everyone.
I also really liked your advice. Was it last time or I think it was I forget when I think it was our reading resolutions. That's when it was. Reading in the morning and in the
Yeah,
evening, like
starting
reading
and
first thing
ending.
in the
Yeah.
morning. I still need to try that.
I've been trying it. It's hard because I work at 5 in the morning, so I'm up at 4. So, like, obviously, I'm not going to read before I go to work at 5 in the morning because I'm up at 4 and I'm rolling out of bed. I put clothes on that probably don't match, and then I'm at work. But I have been kind of trying to do it when I get home from work, which is at 9:30 in the morning. So it's still morning, but I feel like I need someone to keep me accountable for it because I've just been like, "Oh no, like I can do it another day, blah blah blah. I want to watch another episode of this TV show, so it's fine today." But then, one day turns into another, turns into another. So I haven't actually ever tried it yet because of the slump, but I think this week I'm really going to try and like kick my ass into gear and actually do it because I've just been horrible.
Yeah. I think a lot of what like reading slumps come down to, not just reading slumps, or like sometimes when you're just like choosing other things over reading, even if you want to be reading, which I do all the time with like TV. Um, but I think a lot of that just comes down to being intentional about it, which I'm really bad at sometimes, a lot of the
Mhm.
time. Like I could wake up every morning and pick up my book and read like 10 pages in the morning or something like that and then get a start on my day. But of course, I'm going to pick up my phone, scroll through all of my social media, even though there's nothing that I care that much about on there anyway. Um, and just waste like literally like an hour on my phone when I could have spent that
Yeah.
time reading. But it's me being like not intentional about like what I actually want to be doing. And yeah, I'm thinking of doing like a deleting all my social media off of my phone
I
and
was gonna
like
do that. Oh my gosh, we can get unplugged together.
yes, completely unplugging, like deleting all of it off of my phone, except for like I don't know, YouTube, because I don't really watch YouTube videos, so just so like I can check on my channel if I need to or something. Um, and just like deleting it for a little while and just trying it out and being intentional about like doing the things I want to be doing instead of like going on my phone or going on Netflix and scrolling for hours even though I'm not really going to watch anything. It's the worst.
Yeah.
So I
I was
know
going to
that
try and do that
accountability
for
is
a
something
month.
I need.
I was going to try and do that for a month, just like getting rid of social media and then seeing how much I actually end up reading. I feel like February would be a good month to do it because it's a short month. So,
Also,
like,
we'll be together at the start of February,
that's
so we can
true.
be unplugged together and then maybe hold each other accountable after that. But
Very true.
Okay, but when we're together, I'm posting on social media, so I'm not deleting it in
True.
February.
oh my goodness, okay.
Uh,
We have some people asking about annotating books,
Mhm.
which I guess we can talk about today. Um, I tried to start annotating Pride and Prejudice, but I was annotating so much on every single page. So I was reading so slowly. I had to take a break from that, but I think it really I love making a book my own if it's obviously one that I own myself and not like a library book or something like that. But I know some people actually do use post-its and they use a
Mhm.
pencil to annotate in library books and then they just erase it all. They write lightly in pencil, obviously, and they erase everything. And I think some people put it on their computer, like in a Word document, or some people get their own actual copy after they read it from the library and then transfer it over.
I've never annotated. It's something that I wish I could do, but I just know that for me, it would feel like such a tedious process. Like, I love the idea of a book that's annotated, that has been made, like you said, my own and has like all my thoughts in there. But I feel like I would have such a hard time engaging with the book because I would feel the need to be like writing in it all the time. So I did it I did it while I was in university, but I've never done it for a book that I just read for enjoyment because for me the idea of annotations is enjoyable, but the actual execution of it I think would be a little bit too much for me.
I love annotating books. I don't do it all the time because, like, it's the same way I feel about like book reviews. Um, I will only annotate a book if I like really have a lot of
Mhm.
thoughts about it. So like, and it's like second nature for me. So like, if I'm reading a book and I don't like feel the need to write down a thought, I'm not going to. But like sometimes I'm reading a book. Sometimes it's like an audiobook or an ebook, so I don't even have like a way to annotate it or something. So I will literally just take out the notes app on my phone or like an actual notebook and write down things that I feel like I want to jot down. But sometimes it's like it's just such a natural thing that comes to me. Like when I read Turtles All the Way Down, like I didn't have a choice. Like I was reading the book and I was like, okay, tab, writing down my thought, tab, writing down my thought. Like it just like came to me naturally. So I never go into a book thinking like, okay, I'm going to be annotating this. Like I read it and I will annotate it if I feel like I have thoughts, or I won't if I don't have any thoughts. But I love doing it. I think it's really fun. I think it's really fun to go back and read what you wrote. Um, and even if you don't write anything, even if you're just like tabbing the book, I like going back and like finding the passages or the quotes or something that meant something to me. So yeah, I love doing it.
Yeah, the problem is that I unhaul a lot of books that I own. So I'm so scared, like when I'm reading the first time, that I'm going to end up not liking a book and will want to donate it. So I don't annotate usually the first time when I'm reading it. I might tab or something that I've started to do. Wait, I have headphones in. This is not a good idea. I got this notebook for my book reviews for like every book that I'm reading in 2019. I'm doing like a little page of like quotes and like thoughts and stuff like that, so that I can, I have like my library books and books that I'm going to donate and stuff like that. But usually, what I like to do is that after I finish a book, if I love it, like with Turtles All the Way Down, when Hannah and I were crying, like I was
we,
FaceTiming her on my bathroom floor,
we were
crying.
literally FaceTiming and tabbing the book together. It
Yeah,
was an experience.
yeah, I went through it, like I was underlining with pen in Turtles All the Way Down because I loved it so much that I knew that I was going to keep the book for like the rest of time. So it's only when I have committed myself to a book that I will, actually physically write in it. But other than that, it's writing on like other pieces of paper or just tabbing because
I have actually been doing that, like writing
yeah.
in the notepad of my phone,
Mhm.
now that I think about it, because then, like, I read so quickly and the way my brain works, it doesn't matter if I read quickly or if I read slowly. I don't remember things when I'm done a book. Like, I will forget a lot about it. So writing it down is really helpful for when I go back and do like my wrap up and stuff.
That's
Or
why
I'm
I
like trying
took
to
a
remember
picture.
things. Yeah, because it's just hard. Like my memory is horrible, so I just don't remember things. So
Yeah, this is really helping, and especially even if I'm just writing like a few bullet notes, but especially during when filming wrap ups and stuff like that, I usually can't remember exact reasons why I liked or disliked a book, or were just like ambivalent on a book. So I recommend
yeah,
writing down for everything that you've read. Even if you don't film videos, just to look back on what you
yeah,
read this year or this month or whenever, and know how you feel in the moment of reading it, and also upon like further reflection how you really feel at the end of the day. So do we have any other questions? I think
I'm
oh
looking through the.
we
Oh
have
no, thank you.
one from Music Book Dragon. Oh wait, did you say you have one?
No,
Oh,
go
okay.
ahead.
Any tips for not getting distracted by your phone or other things while trying to read?
If you have any, let us know because I know we're all bad
honestly,
at this.
yeah. I try and put it away, but
Mhm.
obviously that's not something that's easy. I think something that I'm going to try and do, because when I really need to focus on writing, I'll leave the house and I'll go somewhere to actually do it. But I've also done that with reading. Like I've gotten together with friends and gone to a coffee shop and just sat there and read. Because if I know I'm going there for the purpose of reading, then I'm actually going to get some reading done, because it always works that way with writing. So it's the same with reading for me. If I'm actually going somewhere to get something done, then I'll feel more inclined to actually do it rather than sit there on my phone, because obviously that's a huge distraction.
Oh my gosh, when you guys are here, can we do that? Because that sounds
Yeah.
so cute. Okay. There's also an app called, oh, people are commenting in there too, and one that I learned from the chat a little while ago. The
Yeah,
app
I think it
called
was last week.
Forest.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yes, it's so helpful, and especially there is a way to actually put real money against it, but I'm never going to do that because no. But I think it like locks your phone for a certain amount of time, but you can get off it if you need to. Also, I think you can set like screen time for your phone to
Yeah,
block all
yeah,
the apps at like a certain time, and that's really helping me for when I want to read before bed. I'll set it for like 10 p.m. or something like that.
yeah.
And you can get to the apps if you need to, if you really need to check Instagram for a very important reason. But it's like, again, like what Hannah was saying, accountability, or like being
Mhm.
intentional about what you're doing. You have to select don't like I want to go onto this app, so it's less mindless scrolling.
Yeah,
So I think there's a lot of ways recently that, all these tech companies have been letting us take some
honestly,
time
while
away
trying
from
to
our
reduce
phones.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, I feel like reading and I our relationship status right now is it's complicated.
You just need one book that
It's
you really
horrible.
love.
I
It's like,
know, and
yeah,
that's
like
the
all the books you've
thing.
read so far this year, or like in the
The
last
past, like, 6
year.
months, it's
This
been, like,
year,
3
oh,
stars, and I'm like, Skyward, I super
mhm.
enjoyed. That was the one that sticks out to me as enjoying a lot, and even Evelyn Hugo, I did like a lot, but oh, you have it?
I got it from the library because you said it.
Beautiful. But I need something that's going to make me want to pick up another book right after. But I've just been choosing Sims every single time. I have lovely families going on. We just had twins. Lovely
Oh,
life.
I'm so happy for you.
I know. Thank
I
you.
also told you to keep me updated on your Sim
I'm
family.
sorry. Well,
Like,
because I've just been populating my world. I've
but you
made
had
like
twins.
50 families. I've hardly played like actual playing except for the family that had twins,
Am
a
I
boy and a
in your
girl.
town? Are Hannah and I in your town?
No, because I don't make real people.
We can be inspired by real events
Yeah.
Excellent.
based on a true story. Hannah and I can be married. No, I'm just kidding.
Amazing. I thought you were trying to get me off of Sims. Actually, there's an application that I know like blocks, because you can get extensions for Google Chrome and stuff like that that will block certain tabs. But there's also an application that you can get for Mac that will block certain applications. So you can say like in between this time and this time, I don't want to be able to open this, but it costs money.
Yeah, what I did for Sims specifically is that I deleted Sims from my computer, and then I deleted all of my mods from it too because I spent so much time collecting mods. Like
I literally have spent days.
Yes, I spent a lot of time like
Oh my
all
God.
the different accessories and stuff, like CC and all the mods. So I just deleted that folder, and now I don't want to play because if I played, it would be playing vanilla without all of my fancy murder mods. And I need my murder mods. A girl.
We play such different games.
You guys, like, I don't understand.
Fence.
I don't understand how you guys get anything done. If I had Sims downloaded, I literally have not played Sims since I was in 3rd or 4th grade because I know that I will literally never do anything again if I have Sims.
Oh, honestly.
I'll download it when you guys come, and then we can play.
No, it's dangerous.
Oh my God. Oh,
we won't do anything else.
Like, honestly, it just sucks you in. I don't know what it is, but you waste hours and you can't stop. So I haven't been wanting to pick up a book because I sit there and I'm reading my book and I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, oh, I wonder how my Sims family's doing. Obviously, they're not doing anything because I'm not there. So maybe I should go and play.
Can't relate. I'm too busy living my real life.
Must be nice. Oh my God.
But I think, to talk about Sims a little bit more is that, like, because we love stories so much, and with Sims you can make a story, and I always have this like grand storyline in my head when I start a Sims game, and that's why I downloaded like drug mods and and murder mods because I wanted drama in my I had a very particular story and it needed drugs and murder. And thank you. That's why it's so addictive. But anyway, if you have any questions for us,
or if you have any ideas on how to not play Sims and actually get some reading done,
download that app.
Delete it. Delete Sims.
I just spent my hard-earned money on it, on the new expansion pack. I can't delete it. I spent so much money because my sister and I were like, oh, we should get this on Christmas Day. And then I was like, so we got it. And then I was like,
ones to buy. And then you bought all of them.
I didn't buy all of them. I exercised some self-control. Well, but I bought a lot of them.
So
yeah, see, I do not. It's just, I should just start a Sims channel so then it will be work and I'll actually like be able to do it and say I'm being productive.
I was starting to do Sims Let's Plays for a little bit and then I'm like, wow, these are terrible. And so I deleted that.
Mine would be so boring because I use all the cheats. They're like, I'm hungry, and I'm like, not anymore. So like, oh God.
Oh my gosh.
What a struggle.
Let us know in the chat what's the last book that you absolutely loved because we need to get reading books that we're obsessed with.
Yeah.
Because even though like I haven't had 6 months of okay reading like Hailey has, I still need something that I just get obsessed about.
Yeah.
So let us know. Oh my gosh, everyone's now talking about Sims. They want you to make a Sims channel.
Perfect. Give me all the motivation I need. I just don't know what I'd do.
You download the murder mod. Are we gonna get demonetized for me talking about murder and drugs so much?
But we're not actually. It's not actually murder and drugs. It's Sims. Simulated. So please don't demonetize us. Thank you.
XOXO.
People are saying a lot of like my favorite books.
Excellent.
That's why they're your favorite books.
True.
You must have good taste.
Wait, someone said King of Scars. Have you read it already?
Oh,
out? No, it's not out.
It's not out yet. Believe me.
Out on like the 29th.
When that comes out, I'll
there
read
you go. You have something to read.
When's it coming out? January 22nd? January
20.
Stop it, please. Don't tell me it comes out on the 29th because that's the day that I leave. I literally leave in the morning to go and see you.
January 29th?
Yeah.
No! I'm gonna have to wait.
Well, it's fine because then we can all read it together because we're gonna get it at the same time anyway.
But I kind of have to read 5 books before I read that one.
Okay, well, Zoe, stop playing Sims.
I haven't played any. I deleted my mods, okay?
Just
I don't have the problem Hailey does.
Read 6 of Crows and put me out of my misery.
Do, honestly. Watch, she's gonna hate it. She's gonna be like, this is a
She's
horrible
not.
book.
Listen, if
I don't think she's going to, but just because.
there is no way she's gonna hate it. If she hates it, we can't talk to her anymore.
That's true. Okay, perfect.
What if I tell you when you're in my house?
I'll leave.
will leave. Yeah. We'll go and find somewhere else.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
But it's part of the reason, like, not wanting to read the hyped books, because what if I don't like them? But also they could bring me so much joy if I do love them.
Mm-hmm.
You're
I'm
killing me.
going through something right now.
You're
He is
killing
supposed to
me.
read it. Yeah. Honestly.
Okay, people are asking for my dad. I'm gonna go ask my dad. So talk about
Are
things.
you really going to get your dad?
Sorry.
What struggles?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Anyway,
don't
I was
know.
trying to look for questions in the chat. This is a mess of a live show.
it's a lot. But you know what? My reading life has been a mess. So reflective.
I mean,
Perfect.
yeah. Understandable.
Such a struggle.
What is the last book besides what's it called? Skyward that you read that you actually liked? Besides Evelyn Hugo, too.
I honestly don't even know. I feel like I'll look and I'll be like, yeah. But like The Nightingale and The Astonishing Color of After are like the big standouts from me for last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there was nothing like other than those. There were just very, very few books that I was like, this is amazing. This is making me want to read more. I feel like I've just been reading the same thing, like a lot of recycled things. So it just hasn't been motivating me to read.
I think that you need a new genre.
Honestly,
And
I agree.
some new/old authors, new to you authors.
Yeah.
I think you need some like backlisted
Stephanie
titles.
Meyer.
Yeah, backlisted titles from like before 2015, I'm going to say.
Mhm.
Just like some older stuff. I think that's what you need.
Yeah.
And some new genres for sure.
Read all of like the Twilight era.
No.
Okay, it'll be entertaining. It won't be good, but it'll be entertaining.
She wants something that she's going to fall in love with, not something that's angsty.
So
It'll remind her of
Lion
when she
fell
was
in love
12.
with the lamb.
What?
Is that not the most
my God.
poetic sentence you've
Oh, someone said Mistborn. I just got that recently, actually.
You'll love Mistborn.
Yeah.
It's so
I
good.
got it after Skyward because I liked Skyward so much.
Yeah, Mistborn is
I'll
amazing.
read that.
I
I
haven't
did
read
just get
any
on the come up today, which
Is
I
it
didn't
out?
read. No, it's not. I got an arc of it.
Oh,
Well,
rude.
I wasn't trying to flex or anything. I was just saying. It's because I'm going to the signing in Toronto on February 24th. See you there. No
My
one, because you're
dad's not
probably all in
home.
America.
People are asking. We went to
Oh.
go get food. Maybe he'll come
Oh.
back in time. I don't know.
Delicious.
But he's getting me food, so I care more about that. Sorry.
What kind of
Maybe
food?
next week.
What kind of food?
I think Taco Bell.
Delicious. I've never had Taco Bell in my life.
Oh my God, I had never had Taco Bell either until I met Zoe and she took me to Taco Bell.
Amazing. Never had it.
You're welcome. When you're here, that's all
I
we're
guess
going
we're
to
going to
eat.
Taco Bell.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Maybe not.
Great.
They have breakfast tacos now, so it's
Oh
possible.
my god. I just see Taco Bell commercials and I'm like,
You're like, wow,
what's
this
that
is
naked
delicious.
chicken chalupa? It's literally in fried chicken.
What?
That's so much. There's like a taco, but the shell's fried chicken. Who comes up with this? I want to be the
American.
person who
I
comes up with
secretly
it.
work for Taco Bell.
Honestly, though, like, oh my god.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
already gonna be
Carla, you
going
know
through
how-
Tim Hortons withdrawals.
Wow, I'm sorry. We have a Dunkin' Donuts right next to a Taco Bell, so maybe
I've
that
actually never had Dunkin' Donuts. It's probably fine.
is better than Starbucks. Anyway, this is a weird live show.
It's gone places. Why does it always go weird places when it's on my channel? We
I don't-
never stay on topic on my channel.
There's just something about your aura.
I think, yeah, that's fair. I concur.
If anyone
So-
has any last minute questions or anything,
Like,
let us
actually
know.
about the topic.
Actually about reading. That'd be nice. Also, I mean, if you want to talk about Taco Bell, what order did you get? Everybody, let me know.
Okay, now it's only going to be Taco Bell orders. There's going to be no questions about reading.
I mean, I'm vegetarian, so I don't get most of the stuff at Taco Bell, but I'm still very interested.
Oh my god. Wowzers.
But I definitely agree with like not just trying to read new releases, but going back
Mhm.
into the archives and reading because there's so many books that I have not read that is everybody's favorites, like Astonishing Color of After and Ava Lavender and all of that. So there's a lot of books that like I've missed, and I'm sure all of us have missed because you can't read everything.
Yeah.
But
I just get so stressed out about the
mhm,
fact that I can't read everything. And I think it's because I'm constantly surrounded by new titles. Like at work,
mhm.
I always see these new titles coming out that no one else is talking about, but I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. And then I buy it and I never get the chance to actually read it. So, struggles. Just my brain right now is
Mhm.
overwhelmed.
But you also have so many good recommendations because you know
It's
all the new
true.
releases. I
Mhm.
don't know any new releases. I basically only read backlist books.
Yeah, we're
So,
very opposite.
two sides of a coin.
I
Yeah.
feel like I read a decent amount of both. Like I just know like what I like.
Mhm.
So I know what I'm excited to read. And then like if a new thing comes into like that I'd never heard about, and I like read the summary or something and it sounds interesting, I'll add that to my list of books I want to read. But like I just know what I like to read. So for the most part, I'm never like that disappointed, I
Yeah.
think. And like I do read a lot, like a decent amount of new releases, but for the most part, I feel like I read no, I feel like it's pretty even. So, I don't know. I feel pretty good about, like, the
Yeah,
amount of backlisted for
you're good at picking things that you like, and I'm so horrible at that because I like so many things that I don't really
well,
know what it is that I like.
yeah, no, it's like yeah, I get that. Like, I like so many things too because, like, at least more recently, I've, like, opened myself up to the idea of reading different genres that I didn't think I would like before. Like, this past year, like, contemporary became one of my new favorite genres, and I didn't really like reading contemporary very much before then. Um, and so, yeah, it's like I don't really know how to explain like why I know what I like so well. I
It's just
I guess I'm
probably tried a lot of things and you can tell
yeah.
from people's descriptions what a book will be about.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm kind of like that with like most things in life. Like I'm just like really good at like tuning into things that I know I'll like and things I know I won't like.
Yeah,
Um so
Mhm.
and you're very
mm,
assertive about it, like what you'll
yeah.
like,
Yeah, you're like,
and
I
I'm
will not
not.
watch Bird Box.
See, I won't watch Bird Box either, and I'm very adamant about that though because I'm a chicken.
Well,
But
Haley's the
They're
one who's
both
adamant
eating
about Bird
Taco
Box.
Bell while we watch Bird Box. Yeah.
no, I'm not gonna watch it. I refuse.
And while we're playing
I
the 50
never
Shades of Grey
sleep.
board game and you're yelling at Hannah.
Things are going to get so weird.
But I think that a reason for one of the reasons behind reading slumps, at least something that I've been struggling with over the past couple of years, is that I usually get in a reading slump when my reading tastes are changing, and I
Yeah.
keep on trying to read books that I used to like. But
Mhm.
since I started my booktube channel, my reading tastes have changed so much. I still do love like YA contemporaries and stuff like that, but I have I don't know, I've changed so much, and that's why I get into reading slumps is because I'm trying to force something that I no longer love. So maybe that's could be one of the reasons behind your reading slump, Haley, is
Yeah.
that you
I can see
haven't found
that.
like the genre for you yet, or like you haven't found like the style of book that like is resonating with you right now.
Yeah. That makes sense. Because I mean, especially since I've been talking so much about how fantasy has been a struggle, I can see how like my reading taste would be changing. So then I'm just like, "Ugh," with
Yeah.
everything.
But I think that's also like kind of a struggle with maybe people who don't do booktube, but definitely on booktube is that because people have been watching my videos for so long or like going back to watching old videos where I talk about books that I loved when I first started my channel and then they recommend books that old me would have loved and then I pick up those books and I'm like oh it's okay, but
Yeah.
I think that's one of the struggles is just trying to get out of the I don't know. I don't know. I have
I
too
think you
deep
have to
a
kind of
thought for right now.
like learn what you would enjoy. And
Mhm.
that's a hard thing to do. It's hard to like because the synopsis only tells you so much and for me I feel like I might be missing out on something when I unhaul a book because inevitably there's going to be
Yeah.
something that is really great but I just don't have the time or the energy to give it a chance. And unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. You can't possibly read every single book. So I think kind of accepting that and coming to terms with the fact that you need to learn what you enjoy and then read those things. That's kind of the journey that I'm on right now. It's a struggle.
You just finding yourself.
I
Everybody
am.
else in this
Midlife crisis.
this whole evil world. We're just trying to find a little piece of joy.
Perfect. We went down south there.
Yeah, I know Hannah's gonna say we should probably wrap it up right now. Is that what you were just about to say?
Yeah.
I'm the evil one.
Perfect.
We're okay.
Oh God.
So if you have any last minute questions, anything, I think a lot of people are just saying, I don't know. There's a lot of Taco Bell orders right now.
I told you.
I think if you don't have like friends who read or something like that, but for the accountability topic that we were talking about earlier, having a Goodreads account is a really good way of keeping accountability. Because you can see how long you've been reading a book for. And also you can connect with other readers across the world. So I would really recommend that. Also, we all have Goodreads accounts, so follow us.
A lot of people are asking how to read faster.
I am not the person to ask about that. I am a very slow reader. I cannot speed read I probably could if I tried, but it's not as satisfying finishing a book after you've sped read it.
I can't speed read, but I find I do follow a couple of tips that I've seen before. And one of them is to follow along with your finger along the page.
Maybe with a
And
bookmark
for
as
some
well.
reason reading with a book that I was just grabbing one. Reading with a bookmark and covering the lines of like going down, I find that that's really helpful. I personally also try to cover the page numbers at the bottom because for me, I'll get really caught up on the fact that I'm at, like, particularly with Sarah J. Maas books because they take me forever to read. I'll cover the page number at the bottom, and then I feel like I'm actually getting somewhere and I'm kind of tricking myself into reading a little bit faster. But I think following along with your finger and using a bookmark would be my main tip. But there's a lot of stuff out there about like stopping your inner voice, but I don't understand how you can read without the inner voice.
I think
But how?
there's like a specific type of, was I talking about that with Jaws or somebody? I think it was on Twitter or something like that. But there's a type of reader that you read everything in real time. Like I read dialogue as if it was being spoken by people, so I read it so much slower, and like actions, like physical like motions and stuff, I act everything out in my head. So that's why it's a type of reader. Like there's a technical term for it. But there is like a way to turn that off. But again, that wouldn't be as satisfying for me because it's kind of like I'm watching a movie in my mind. But also ebooks, I do read much quicker than physical books because one, they're just lighter, but also I tend to skip like ahead sometimes. I'm like, when does the chapter end? Or like, how many pages are in this book? So, and also like I skip ahead to like dialogue on the next page or something like that. And then I have to work my way back. So it just takes a lot longer when I'm reading a physical book. But I think ebooks could also, if you don't want to do like the bookmark hack or whatever, or like Hailey's hacks. But what about you, Hannah? Do you have any tips?
I feel like I read pretty quickly, and I actually think the bookmark thing makes me read far more slowly. Like keeping like my finger to like track the words, like that makes me read a lot more slowly. My tip is something that one of my teachers in like 7th grade or something suggested one time. And it's actually a tip about like speed reading. But what I do is it's speed reading. It just over time I have like developed this ability and it makes me just read a lot more quickly now. Even like things that I have to pay like a lot of detailed attention to, like school stuff. So instead of reading every like word, I read in chunks.
Yeah.
So I read in like blocks. Like usually if you're reading a sentence, your brain can anticipate at least the next couple of words that are going to be in the sentence, and it can look at more than one word at a time. We just tend to focus on one word at a time instead of looking at multiple words at a time. So now when I read, and I've been doing this for years now, like I look at multiple words at once, and that's why I read more quickly than a lot of people. because I don't read one word at a time. I read at least like a few words at a time. I don't know how to describe that exactly.
Yeah.
I've seen that tip quite a few times before, and I've kind of tried to train myself to do it, but I've never like really tried. But it's definitely something that I want to try more, because that's something that they recommend a lot for speed reading. And I think that's a way to do speed reading, but also pay attention to what you're reading at the same time,
Oh,
because
yeah.
Like in
a lot of the
between.
downfall is that you don't retain as much information. But I think that reading multiple words at a time, like I was thinking like 3 or 4. How many words do you think you focus on at a time?
It depends. It depends on what I'm reading, and it depends on if I am kind of speed reading. Like certain
Yeah.
books, like for example, Cassandra Clare books, I don't need all of that like description and like you know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about? Like
Black
it's
corn,
all
blue eyes.
yeah.
Let's
Like
say
how many
this
times do I
12
have to read
times in
that?
this page.
Exactly. So like with those, sometimes I can look at like almost like a few lines of writing and like I can take all of that in pretty much. Can I tell you the like people are going to say like that's not reading because you're speed reading or whatever blah blah blah. I don't care.
It
I still
is.
retain everything. I still know what happens.
Yeah.
So if it's like something like that where like I know I don't need every like single like word to like be stuck in my head, then I'll do it like with a few lines. Usually it's about like one line at a time that I can like read.
Oh wow.
So yeah. Okay, like I've said, I've been doing this since I was like in 7th grade.
Yeah, so you've
So
been
that's
doing
just
it for
like
a long
how my
time.
brain reads now.
Mhm.
But
I need to
Someone
train
said
myself.
it's called, the thing that I do is called subvocalization. So that's like
Yes,
the type
yeah.
of reader I am. And they say it's like the natural way you read or something like that. But then you
Yeah,
can
I do
sort of
that
train
too.
yourself to
I
read
think it's
the cool way like Hannah does.
I think I do it because I was never a fast reader as a kid. I wasn't very good at reading, so I think that's why I always got caught up in the sub-vocalization of things. But I definitely want to try and do what Hannah does more, and
Mhm.
maybe,
it's
that
also it's
Mhm.
also a really, really good tip, not just like if you're reading like for fun. If you're reading for school
Oh,
and you
for
don't
sure.
have like a lot of time, it is so helpful. It's
Yeah.
so helpful because you can read so much more quickly and you only will retain the like important pieces of information from what you're reading, especially if you read like in bigger chunks than just one line. It's so helpful. It
Yeah.
gets you through so much more.
Yeah, I like doing sub vocalization when I'm reading for fun because again, it's like acting it out. But then I have
Mhm.
trouble with reading for school, which we can talk about what we're talking about next week.
Yes.
Next week's topic, we're talking about required reading and how to conquer your English class. So all about required reading, balancing pleasure reading with required reading, and all of the gross. My dog is very
Oh,
excited about next
no.
week's topic. So we'll talk more about this topic and other things that we didn't cover today. But I definitely want to try Hannah's way of reading, but also
We'll try it
I'm
together.
very attached with acting it out like a movie. So again, like it doesn't matter. Like I don't think reading speed like is very
Yeah.
important
No,
because I mean it doesn't make you a better reader if you read
no.
slower and like take your time or whatever. It doesn't make you a better reader if you can read more. It's just whatever you're comfortable with, the way you
Yeah.
find enjoyment from reading. So yeah. Just don't feel bad about
Excellent.
anything. That's the moral of Bookmarked story. So should we talk about our booktuber of the week?
Yes.
Yeah.
Our booktuber of the week is Kimberly Ann. Her channel name, I think it used to be It's Kimberly Ann, but it's just Kimberly Ann now. And we'll have her linked in the description box below. But I really, really like her videos. She recently did a video on BookTube, like if clicks on BookTube exist or something. And I really liked it because I really liked the way that she talked about it. I thought it was really well done and very like articulate. So yeah, highly suggest checking out her channel. She's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. I enjoy her as well. And next week we should be on Hannah's channel to talk about required reading. So if you have any questions for that already, you can let us know in the chat, or better yet, please let us know on Twitter, hashtag bookmarked, or you can tweet at us at bookmarked club because that's the easiest way I can find to look back at old questions. But yes, it will be on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, this
The
is our
new
new time.
time.
I know some people were like confused because we changed it from 7 to 6. Sorry about the confusion, but hopefully this time actually works for everybody.
All right. So thank you all so much for joining us. And we hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.